Hey everyone, welcome back. It's funny. I was just thinking the other day about how we're always plugged in.
Always on.
Yeah. And I was thinking how awesome it would be to just unplug for a bit. You ever feel that way?
All the time. I think a lot of people do, honestly.
Right. So that's what we're going to deep dive into today. This idea of a digital detox, which might sound kind of intense, like living off the grid or
Yeah,
something.
like a tech cleanse.
Exactly. But it's not really about that. It's more about being mindful about how we use technology.
Right. Absolutely. More intentional, like choosing when and how we engage instead of letting it just run our lives.
Totally. So we'll get into all that good stuff, like what a digital detox actually is and why it might be a good idea to try one.
We'll even look at some of the research around screen time and mental health.
Ooh, that's always interesting.
It is. There's a lot more to it than you might think.
Okay, so first things first. When we talk about a digital detox, what exactly are we talking about? I mean, what does that really look like in real life?
Well, it's not necessarily about throwing your phone in the ocean and living in a cave.
Oh, that does sound kind of tempting sometimes.
All right, but really it's more about taking a step back.
Yeah.
Being more conscious of your tech use.
Okay, so less about total deprivation, more about finding some balance.
Exactly. So maybe you decide to have certain times of day where you're completely unplugged. Or maybe you pick one day a week where you do a total tech shutdown.
So it's personalized. You figure out what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach here.
Got it. So why bother?
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits of cutting back on screen time?
Well, there's a ton of potential benefits, honestly. One of the biggest ones is definitely improved mental health. A lot of people find that they feel less anxious and more relaxed when they're not constantly bombarded with information and notifications.
Yeah, it's like that feeling when you finally put your phone down after scrolling for an hour, ugh, relief.
Right, like you can finally breathe again.
Exactly.
And there's also the benefit of deeper connections with others. When you're not constantly distracted by your phone, you can actually be more present in your interactions with the people around you.
Which is so important. I feel like sometimes we're physically together, but mentally we're miles away.
Totally. And that can really impact relationships over time.
For sure. What else?
Let's see. Oh, enhanced creativity and focus. When you're not constantly switching between tasks and apps, your brain actually has the space to dive deep and get stuff done.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that when I take a break from screens, I can actually focus on one thing for more than 5 minutes.
Right. It's like a superpower these days.
Totally. Okay, so better mental health, deeper connections, improved focus. What else am I missing?
Well, and then there's just that overall sense of peace that comes with being more present and less distracted.
Well, that's nice. Just feeling more grounded and less frazzled.
Exactly.
I like that. Speaking of mental health, I'm curious about the research you mentioned earlier. What does the data say about the relationship between screen time and our well-being?
So there's a growing body of research that suggests there's a correlation between excessive screen time and certain mental health challenges.
Like what?
Well, some of the things that come up a lot are anxiety, depression, sleep problems, even things like body image issues and low self-esteem.
Whoa. So it's not just about feeling scattered and distracted. It can actually have some serious impacts.
Potentially, yeah. Now, it's important to remember that correlation doesn't equal causation. Just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean one causes the other.
Right, right.
Maybe people who are already struggling with anxiety are more likely to spend more time online. We don't know for sure, but it's something to be mindful of.
For sure. So let's say someone is listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm ready to give this digital detox thing a try. Where do they even begin?
Well, like I said before, there's no one right way to do it. It's really about figuring out what works for you and your lifestyle. But there are definitely some good strategies that can help.
Like what? Lay it on me.
So one of the most effective things you can do is start setting boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yeah, with your time and your space. So maybe you decide to make your bedroom a tech-free zone. Or maybe you make a rule that you don't check your phone during meals.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm so guilty of that.
We all are. It's so ingrained in our culture now.
It really is.
Another thing you can do is turn off notifications. Seriously, those things are designed to be addictive.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's every time my phone buzzes, I have to look at it. It's like a reflex.
Right. So turning off those notifications can really help you break that cycle and regain control of your attention.
Makes sense.
Another thing to consider is engaging in more offline activities,
Like what?
like anything that gets you away from screens and into the real world.
Okay, that's pretty broad.
It is, haha. But seriously, think about things you enjoy doing that don't involve technology. Maybe it's reading, going for walks, spending time in nature, or catching up with friends face to face.
It's like rediscovering the things you used to do before you had a smartphone glued to your hand.
Exactly.
Okay, those are all great tips.
Yeah.
Is there anything else folks can do to, like, cultivate more tranquility in their digital lives?
You know, one thing that can be really helpful is to practice mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah, it's basically the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. So, like noticing your breath, your thoughts, your feelings, your surroundings, all without getting swept away by them.
Huh. Seems kind of like meditation.
It's similar, but you can practice mindfulness anywhere, anytime. You don't need to be sitting on a cushion with your eyes closed.
So, like, if I'm feeling overwhelmed by emails, I can just take a few deep breaths and, like, be present with that feeling instead of freaking out.
Exactly. It's about creating a little space between you and your reaction.
That's cool.
And then, of course, there's spending time in nature.
Always a good idea. I swear. Every time I go for a walk in the woods, I feel like a new person.
It's amazing, right? And there's actually science behind it. Studies have shown that spending time in nature can lower stress levels, boost mood, even improve sleep quality.
So it's not just in my head.
Nope. Nature is powerful medicine.
I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive on digital detox, any final words of wisdom?
Well, I think the most important thing to remember is that it's not about perfection. It's about progress.
It's neat.
Meaning, you don't have to go from being constantly plugged in to living off the grid overnight.
Yeah.
Start small. Make one change at a time.
Baby steps, right.
Exactly. And be kind to yourself. If you slip up, don't beat yourself up about it. Just try again tomorrow.
Awesome advice. So, as you're going about your day-to-day, I want you to ask yourself this. What's one small thing you can do to bring a little more peace and balance into your digital life? Maybe it's turning off notifications for a few hours, or taking a walk without your phone, or just being more mindful of how you're using technology. And remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time.